Hello, beautiful people, and thank you so much for joining us on this other edition of The Brief live on My Media Prime Television, a program where we always get to dig several layers beneath the major headlines as captured by newspapers. On today's edition of the program, many newspapers are focusing on the 50th anniversary of Cameroon's national unity. We shall tell you more on the preparations which wrapped up yesterday in Yaoundé, the nation's political capital. And equally, Ambazonia fighters have released those that they kidnapped in the southwest region of the country after the military launched an offensive recently. We shall equally tell you about the outing of the Social Democratic Front Party, talking about rising commodity prices as well as refusal to take part in this year's National Unity Day celebration. Gwladys Bomotonguina is here. Let's find out what she gathered for us in the French language newspapers. Bonjour Gwladys.
Bonjour Lasha. Et
bonne fête.
Merci beaucoup. Bonne fête à toi aussi et bonne fête à nos milliers de téléspectateurs sur ma Media Prime et Télévision. Et merci une fois de plus de rester fidèle à Debrief, votre émission bilingue de revue de presse sur ma Media Prime et Télévision. Alors ce matin, nous allons débuter avec le journal Émergence. Le journal Émergence ici qui nous amène à sa première page à la FECAFOOT. En effet, le secrétaire général de la FECAFOOT est donc démissionnaire, Dizengue Eto. C'est du moins ce qu'a intitulé le journal Émergence ce matin à sa page 11. À sa page 6, le journal nous parle de CEMAC. Le Cameroun finance donc l'importation des autres pays. C'est du moins la révélation que nous fait Émergence ce matin à sa page 4. En page 10, le journal nous parle du 20 mai 2022. Les partis d'opposition vont défiler sous conditions. En page 5, le journal nous parle de la mairie de Berthois. Des agents de contrôle du permis de bâtir ont été suspendus. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous poursuivons ce matin avec le journal Le Jour. Le journal Le Jour ici, qui nous parle du monument qui a été installé au Cameroun dernièrement. J'aime mon pays, le Cameroun. Le journal nous révèle que c'est une dénomination qui a déjà été usitée. On a donc oublié l'auteur de la formule, Henri Mbala Mbarga. Les détails sont donc en page 5 du journal Le Jour ce matin. En page 3, le journal parle du Logone et du Chari, aux sources d'un conflit communautaire, comment la politique de préférence a mis le feu aux poutres. Nous continuons donc, mesdames, messieurs, toujours dans le même journal Émergence. Le journal Émergence, le journal Le Jour nous parle effectivement de CTFP, passe d'armes entre le général Semengue et Samuel Etofis. Les détails sont donc en page 11 du journal Le Jour ce matin. Mesdames, messieurs, nous poursuivons ce matin avec le journal quotidien Éco Santé. Le journal quotidien Éco-Santé qui nous parle de 50 ans de l'État unitaire du Cameroun, la population aux petits soins de l'armée et de la police, en effet, dans les hôpitaux militaires et de la police, les populations civiles représentent 70% des patients. La Grande Muette assure également les soins dans les zones en proie à la violence et à l'insécurité. Les détails sont donc en page 6 et 9 de ce journal Éco-Santé ce matin. Nous poursuivons, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec le journal L'Info à chaud. Le journal L'Info à chaud qui nous parle ici de suspension, suspendu, poussé à la démission, pour parler ici du secrétaire général à la FECAFOOT. Les détails sont donc en page 3 du journal L'Info à chaud ce matin. En page 2, le journal nous parle du défilé du 20 mai à Douala. L'honorable Niche prône donc le boycott par le SDF. En page 8, le journal nous parle de Panthère de Gabon. Bomotonguina prend sa retraite internationale. Nous continuons donc, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin où nous clôturons avec le journal Mutation quotidien. Le journal Mutation quotidien qui nous parle ici en grand titre de l'affaire Mebengo. L'accusation est donc en panne. C'est du moins ce que révèle Mutation ce matin. Maxime Mbanga, le principal témoin, se rétracte devant le tribunal. Les détails sont donc en page 9 de ce journal Mutation ce matin. En page 7, le journal nous parle du défilé du 20 mai. Le SDF donc qui se retire de ce défilé. Les détails donc sont effectivement effectivement à page 7 du journal Mutation ce matin. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous sommes arrivés à la fin des titres en langue française. Place à la découverte des titres en langue anglaise avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you, Gwladys. Bomotonguina. Let's kickstart this morning with the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune. Cameroon Tribune this morning is interested in the 50th anniversary of Cameroon's national unity. The paper tells us that preparations wrapped up in Yaoundé yesterday with military march past rehearsal, as we are told. And you can get more details on pages 3 through 27 of this edition of 20th May celebration of the country. That's, of course, the Golden Jubilee of reunification of Cameroon. Only in this edition of Cameroon Tribune newspaper. On to Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur newspaper this morning is interested in the move taken by the government of Cameroon when it comes to custom duties on the importation of petroleum products in the country. The government has taken a move recently. We are talking about the Ministry of Finance of the country that announced that there will be a reduction on the custom duties of importation of hydrocarbons product, petroleum products, in a bid to arrest what could escalate as rising of prices in the filling station as well as other markets in the country. Read more on page 9 of this edition of the Entrepreneur newspaper of Swaibo Tria. And still with the Entrepreneur newspaper, talking about humanitarian aid to other citizens of neighboring countries into Cameroon. The paper tells us that in 2021, Cameroon registered 325,000 Central African refugees. These refugees are the refugees that Cameroon took care of in 2021, as we are told by the Entrepreneur newspaper on page 7. On to Cameroon Insider. Cameroon Insider is focusing on Unitary State 50 years on. Final preparations for tomorrow's parade, writes Cameroon Insider newspaper. Preparatory activities ahead of the 50th National Day to be celebrated tomorrow, May 20, 2022, are nearing their final point. Yesterday, the last general march past rehearsal took place at the May 20th Boulevard or Avenue in Yaoundé, the nation's political capital. More details on pages 2 through 6 of this edition of the set newspaper. Why pregnant girls must remain in school, writes Cameroon Insider newspaper. The paper is giving us reasons why pregnant girls must remain in schools in Cameroon. The Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lionga, has in a recent outing said Cameroon is simply doing what happens internationally, and Cameroon is not inventing anything new when it comes to allowing pregnant girls to stay in schools. More details on page 11 of this edition of the set newspaper. The paper is also reporting on the resignation of the Secretary General of Feka Food. Banlok quits as Secretary General. In a communique issued yesterday, one of Eto's closest collaborators at the Feka Food presidency threw in the towel over what he said were for managerial reasons. His resignation suggests the Eto's era is one of moving sands, as the paper puts it. More details on page 13 of this edition of Cameroon Insider newspaper. We end this morning with the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post newspaper is also talking about 20th May celebration in the country. May 20th March passed in Yaoundé. Government imposes tough conditions on political parties. The Guardian Post newspaper. Government, according to the paper, has set what observers say are tough conditions for political parties wishing to participate in the march past to mark the 50th anniversary or 50th edition of the National Day in Yaoundé. The event, which takes place tomorrow nationwide, is expected to be chaired by the President of the Republic, Head of State Paul Biya. And in the nation's capital, it will be in the nation's capital, political capital, Yaoundé. That's tomorrow, and categorizing the conditions for a set of political parties to take part in the march past. We are told by the papers that critics say it is signals that the Yaounde's regime is panicking and does not want to leave anything to chance by allowing some political parties which do not conform to the rules to take part in the march past that would be tomorrow. Let's take you to the southwest region to talk about this offensive launched by the military in that part of the country. We are told that the operation is yielding fruit as Ambazonia fighters have released CDC workers kidnapped in Ede now a few days ago. Still in the Guardian Post newspaper, let's talk about decentralization this time around. Professor Maurice Kamto of the Renaissance or Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party has said decentralization too little, too late to solve the Anglophone crisis. He was speaking to Vox Africa, as we are told by the said newspaper, that the decentralization currently being championed by the Paul Biya regime cannot solve the Anglophone crisis we have in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Read more on the interview of Professor Maurice Kamto only in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. Thank you for watching, televiewers of My Media Prime Television. We are back in the studio to continue with our discussions this morning. We are receiving our permanent resource person or consultant who is always joining us from London, Maitre Alex Ndive. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lasha. Good morning, Gwladys. Good morning, televiewer. Good morning, Mr. Elvis and the beautiful people of Cameroon. It's always a pleasure to be on your program.
Elvis, you are equally joining us from the nation's political capital. You are the National Communication Secretary to the Popular Action Party. We shall be with you. Let's begin, first of all, with Maitre Alex. Thank you for joining. Welcome, Elvis.
Thank you, Mr. Lasha. Good morning to you, Gwladys. Good morning, Maitre Alex. It's a pleasure meeting you once again. Good morning to all the viewers of my media. Let me say it's another bright new morning, though we got up this morning in Yaoundé, like was the case yesterday, with our feet in serious floods around certain areas of the town. But that's the situation. If not, I would say it's a brand new day.
Yeah, but floods do happen everywhere. Even in London, where Maitre Alex is, he can also testify to you that sometimes they are in trouble in London. Maitre, I begin with you this morning. We are talking about National Day, National Unity, and apparently preparations wrapped up in Yaoundé recently. And some political parties are already saying that they will not take part in the march past, citing tough conditions given them by the government of the Republic of Cameroon.
Yes, I understand you're talking about the National Day. And I saw a headline from Cameroon Tribune, the triumph d'une demi-cercle de marché en avant. So it saddens me because we still have problems in the house. If we want to celebrate a golden jubilee, as Cameroon Tribune says, we have to clean the house and make sure all of us, we are happy.
Welcome to a new world of TV broadcasting. My Media Prime News.
What I, Maitre Alex Ndive, would have liked to see in Cameroon, there are people like Umiobe, there are people like Ernest Wangi, there are people like Felix Mumi. These are the people who fought to give Elvis, Mr. Lasha, Gwladys, myself, Mr. Biya, independence. But these people were assassinated, and until today we don't recognize them in Cameroon. If there was a march past, I wanted to see the people marching and looking at the statue or the effigy of these people. Umyobe was killed on the 13th of September by France and Mr. Aijo, 1958, because he was anti-French. We are not respecting these people, and we are celebrating 50 years national unity. Felix Mumi was killed on the 10th of November 1960 by French service in Geneva. He was poisoned. We are not respecting these people, and we're talking of national unity. Ernest Wangi was publicly executed for calling for the independence of the Cameroon that we have today, and he was executed on the 15th of January 1971. Today we don't respect these people. Then we have the Anglophone problem. Again, I'll read something Vivre Ensemble, what Mr. Biya says in connection to the Anglophone problem. Permit me to read it. Mr. Biya said on this Vivre Ensemble, on this score in connection to the Anglophone problem, I wish to remind our compatriots in this region, but also those in other regions, that marginalization, exclusion, or stigmatization has never guided the work of the various government I've formed since I became president of our country.
Yes.
When Emma Bazi said enemy down la maison, that was a government delegate. Mr. Biya said nothing. That was his government. When Amadou Ali said an Anglophone will never rule Cameroon, that was a senior minister in Aijo and Biya's government. When the governor of Southwest Region, Mr. Okala of Gwladys, said Anglophones adopt, they will shoot them, that was a senior person in Mr. Biya's government.
Yes,
when,
but should we keep those are opinions. Should we
we
keep?
are celebrating division, and as I say,
yes,
the Cameroon Tribune said, "C'est in triumph in the demi-cercle de marche en avant." What happened? Marche en avant by destroying Sojuk. March en avant by destroying Tico International Airport Marketing Board, Apple Pastoral Show, Tico WAF, Cameroon Bank, and other things. That's not march en avant, it's a march en derrière.
So according to you, how should we be celebrating?
I want us to celebrate things in that country, but it's not time to celebrate. We have to go to the drawing board. We have to sit together. We have to decide and solve our differences before we celebrate. We cannot be celebrating failure. That's what we are celebrating. Okay. And I should add again to what happened on 20th May 1972. It's not about unity. It's what Mr. Aijo decided to concentrate power under his government. That's what happened. He concentrated power, not unity. This is my theory. This is what Mr. Aijo did. I call it Adam Decentralization's theory. You have a bird that lives in the tree, flies in the air. You have a lion that lives, it's a jungle in the forest. You have a fish. Mr. Aijo was a fish. What he did, he took a lion that needs to live in the jungle. He took a bird that flies and lives in the tree and put them all inside water. Then he called it national unity. A bird cannot live inside water. A lion cannot live inside water, only a fish. So Aijo and his government, they were the fish. They have forced all other persons to live inside water. So they are drowning the country. That is my theory. What you need to do if you want national unity, a bird should be free to live on top of the tree and fly in the air. A lion should be able to live in the jungle, and a fish should be able to live in the water. That is what I call unity in diversity.
Okay, Maitre, we're coming back to you. Elvis, you listen to Maitre Alex there. What is your take on what he's saying?
Mr. Lasha, I agree perfectly well with what Maitre says. And for that reason, I will not want to go repeating what he has said. But I will simply add that when we talk about 1972, for instance, the people were never consulted.
No, how can you say what they are saying?
How can you say that which was going to favor him? And
no, but the people, Aijo was voted by the people, not Elvis. How can you say the people were never consulted? They voted for him, so he had.
No, listen.
Yes.
No, if you were to go back to what the federal constitution said, Mr. Lasha, it was clear in it that anything that had to do with the form of the state, first and foremost, was not even accepted according to the constitution. But that secondly, if it needed to be, it needed to pass through the different houses of assembly, which was never the case. And that's why I say he didn't consult the people, because if he had gone through the different houses of assembly, the people should have spoken with the masses, know their point of view, and then be able to come back and then tell us whether we are going or not. I usually look for a shortcut, hoping that we were in fact counting on the Francophone majority that he had at the time to be able to consolidate his power. Because remember, to come into this union, the Southern Cameroonians alone were the ones who wanted to join in. But now, to talk about national unity or whatsoever thing, he engulfed every other person. And remember that it was a fraud when they asked people from the Southern Cameroons who did not understand French to vote by a we.
No, nobody has ever proven what they are saying. Elvis,
I will tell you that
Elvis, nobody has ever proven what they are saying. The issue of we and yes, nobody has ever proven that.
You cannot say that nobody has ever proven in Mr. Lasha when we have archives of the ballots that actually bore the message and the we and yes on it. When you say nobody has ever proven, now let me come back to today. When we talk about national unity, what unity are we talking about? when we have people like Ben Terence, like BBC Mancho, like the T Corners who are still languishing in jail, what did they do to be in prison today? For us to talk that, to say we are celebrating national unity. Unity is not something you impose on people, because when we talk about national unity here, we are referring to patriotism. Patriotism is inborn and you cannot impose it on the people. Let the people feel that they belong, and then we talk about celebration. Like Metro said, we cannot be talking about celebration today because there is absolutely nothing to celebrate. A handful of people cannot take an entire nation hostage. They impose on the majority that which favors them, and then they come out to say we are celebrating. There is nothing to celebrate. Look at the conditions that are given to political parties to partake. You can only match if you will accept to carry Mr. Bia's effigy. Is that what we call national unity? Is that the celebration we are talking about? Is the nation centered around Mr. Bia as an individual? He is the head of state, but Cameroon is not all about Mr. Bia Paul. These are things we must understand and take into consideration, Mr. Lasha. We cannot reduce a nation to center around one individual. Mr. Bia is a human like you and I. Tomorrow he will leave this country naturally, answering nature's call, but the nation will have to continue. So when you tell me that I can only match if I will accept to parade Mr. Bia's effigy, believe me, my political ideology does not permit me to do any such thing. And you understand why, therefore, those few genuine political parties will never accept to do any such thing. So there is nothing to celebrate in this country, not until we go back to the drawing table and we begin to dot the teeth, to cut the teeth and dot the I's where we have missed them before. Permit me say again that the so-called national unity in this country right from 1961 has always been one with cracks. Remember that if you come back to the Anglophone crisis, our people started manifesting their discomfort in this union right from 1961, but they have been totally neglected. And just in line what Metro said, Mr. Bia himself, he outrightly said in France that their intention, his idea was to get us assimilated. It was not for us to live in a unity, but it was for us to be transformed to totally become Francophones before they could recognize us. And because they failed in that transformation process, they have turned out to declare a war against our people, and of course, on a daily basis, our people are being massacred, our people are being murdered. There is a genocide.
Est-ce que c'est le président Paul Biya qui a fait en sorte que la guerre ou bien les conflits soient observés dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest actuellement, parce que vous avez dit qu'ils ont fait en sorte que les
assimilés, ça n'a pas donné.
C'est quand même fort ce que vous dites là.
Est-ce que vous pouvez répondre à la question, s'il vous plaît?
Yes, Elvis, Gwladys is asking you that is it as a result of Mr. Bia's action of trying to assimilate the Anglophones that we are having the war that we're having today in the northwest and southwest regions?
That is a very pertinent question, Mr. Lasha. Let me tell you something. Mr. Bia's actions have everything to do with the war we have in the southern Cameroons. Because, like I said, before he took over power, beginning from Aïdjo, Anglophone Cameroonians
is it? Are you not supposed to blame? Are you not supposed to blame? But they let
all what they could do. Find out they did all what they could do to let this government understand that our people were not comfortable in this union. Then remember the old Anglophone promises 1 and 2. We are in the northwest. People enumerated their problems and submitted them to this government, but they were never taken into consideration. In 2016, 2017, when the crisis started with strike actions, do not forget that it was Mr. Bia Paul on November 30th, 2017, who outrightly declared war against our people.
No, it was clear. He said against enemy. He said that everything. No. Elvis, I can quote Mr. Bia. I know I can quote him. He said everything is now clear. Those who are enemy, those who have declared war against the state of Cameroon, we are going after, the military is going after those people. He did not declare war against anybody.
He said those who declared war. Mr. Lasha, who declared the war? Was it Mr. Bia or the people?
The people who killed the security officers. The people who killed the security officers.
He declared war against the people. We should not forget that the people we are talking about, they are first and foremost, or should I say, they are Cameroonians who picked up arms because of frustration from the regime. Ever since this war started, how many Cameroonians, how many NGOs, how many so-called foreign partners have insisted for a genuine dialogue, which Mr. Bia's government has denied to grant. So we should not talk as though the people who are fighting are some people from a planet that we don't know where they come from. They are first and foremost our brothers, they are our sisters, they are our fathers, and they are our parents. And we can sit down and talk with them. And that's why we have been insisting. If we want to talk about celebrating national unity, we must first of all understand the fact that there is a need for us to sit down as a people, dialogue, understand the root cause of our problems, tackle them, be sure that we have solutions or a way forward.
Okay, Elvis.
Celebration.
Elvis.
Without which, let me tell you, Mr. Lasha, that I don't see anything of national unity that we are celebrating in this country today or tomorrow.
Elvis, you blame Mr. Bia more. Don't you think that the problem started with Aijo? Why should you blame Mr. Bia more for what we are having today in Cameroon?
I think I started by saying that even before he came to power. But today we may blame him more because he has been there for 40 years. He has had all the opportunities to be able to sit the people down so that we talk as a people. But he has, out of or through his arrogance, outrightly proven that he is not out for any form of dialogue. I still remind you again that it was he himself who said in France that his mission was to assimilate the people, but that they failed. And like I said, after recognizing that he had failed, what did he do in 2017? He declared a war against the people. You said the war
he declared a war against enemies. Enemies of the Republic. Elvis. No, Elvis, stop misleading. No, you are misleading. Elvis, you are misleading televiewers. Mr. Bia did not declare war on Cameroonians. He declared war on enemies of state. Those who killed police officers, the first police officers that were killed in Bamenda.
Can you remember what happened to Southern Cameroonians on the 27th of September 2017? Were they killed by those who picked up arms, as you say? Were they carrying any arms with them? Did they have any sticks or spears with them? What happened that they were killed? What was their crime for being shot? Were they shot by soldiers from a different country? Do you forget that Mr. Bia is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in this country? What has he ever said or done with respect to the killing?
No, we have had cases like Gabo. We have had Gabo.
On the 1st of October of that same
Elvis. No, Elvis, we have had cases. We have had. Let me come back. Elvis.
Thousand Cameroonians started down without ever picking out even a stone to shoot against anybody. They went out there with peace plan, simply crying to let their voices be heard. But Mr. Bia, who is the #1 commander-in-chief of the military in this country, he allowed his military to go out there and they shot at the civilians and they killed them.
Elvis.
These are facts that are well documented. I'm not the one inventing them here.
Okay, Elvis, we have cases like that of Garbu and other places that we all know. Those defense and security, agents, they are under trial. We all know that. So you cannot say Mr. Bia has not done anything. Cases of misconduct, Mr. Bia has been handling them. So you cannot say outrightly say Mr. Bia has not said anything since such incidents happened in the Northwest.
We are handling them like we saw them handle the case of those who executed women and children in the North, right? Mr. Lasha, let me tell you one thing. We are Cameroonians, we know how this system operates. Okay. Now, let me ask you one question.
No, I'm the one asking. You cannot ask me any question. I will come back to you.
For either those cases or to simply call for a genuine national dialogue where we can consider as Cameroonians, as people who all love this nation and talk. I also want to remind Cameroonians that even those who say that finally picked up arms against this nation, they did not pick up arms because they hated the country, but they picked up arms because they became frustrated that they were never allowed to talk or their voices were never heard by anyone in this country. Let us be factual about certain things we say and we say things the way they are.
Okay, Elvis, I will come back to you.
Not because they hate Cameroon.
Metro Alexis is itching. Metro Alex wants to talk. I will come back to you, Elvis. I will come back to you. Metro Alex, we are talking about Professor Maurice Kamto, who has given an interview, an exclusive interview on Vox Africa, saying that the decentralization process is too late, too little and too late to solve the problem that we have in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
I know Professor Maurice Kamto in two capacities.
Yes.
One, he was my lecturer in Guakele. He taught me droit administratif approfondi. Mr. Kamto was a good lecturer. If you ask all the Anglophones, because I did public law and 99% of our studies was in French, so we have to struggle. He was one of the best who, as Anglophone, we love him. But when it comes to politics, I should tell you that Mr. Kamto is very disappointing. He keep on changing the goalposts. He was part of a regime, a CPDM government. I would like to ask Mr. Kamto.
No, being part of something, being part of something, if you discover, Maitre, being part of something, if you discover that that thing is not good and you leave to follow the right path, how is it a problem now or a crime?
You should join people like ourselves who are younger and fit to be his children. You should join us and follow us. Don't lead because you make a mistake, error of judgment. It's not a mistake that some of us have never joined parties like CPDM or CNU. If you see the people today running Cameroon, why we have this confusion? If you see the opposition leaders in Cameroon, including John Fundi. John Fundi was CPDM, he stood against Pa Achide Achu, all of them. So this is the mistake. Sometimes these people, they should clear the path and leave people, Elvis and ourselves to try to. Most people like Aijo was 33 years old, he was prime minister of the country. Pamuna, Foncha, they were averagely all with Mr. Bia, they were 28, 33 years old when they were running that country. So I don't see why these people should stay there for 50 years. Chief Mukete was minister in Nigeria, he died as a senator. So we have a trouble in that country. And I will say it clearly, as you said, Mr. Elvis was talking about the declaration of war. We can argue about that date, but for me, the day that war was declared on the people of Southern Cameroon was when they imported this cooperation agreement of 1959 and imposed it on Francophone. If you notice, the British people, they have left Cameroon long ago. France is still doing what in Cameroon? France have to do what according to the cooperation agreement? What do they have to do? They have to manufacture our money. They have to get priority to our resources. They have to give military assistance. Those things are still there. My point with Mr. Kamto is sometimes somebody told me, said that he would like me to join Mr. Kamto. I asked a question. Where does Mr. Kamto stand when it comes to the cooperation agreement? That will disappear. I don't go for professorship. I don't go for educational work. I like people who call a spade a spade. To me, Mr. Kamto have not got any program or manifesto to rule Cameroon. He has served his time. He has made error. He constructed this bad governance that we have. He was part of it. And I will be happy if he should retire and keep quiet and allow other people to move on a different agenda. As I said, as a lecturer, he was the best. As a politician, Mr. Kamto is zero. That's my view.
How is he zero? How is he zero?
Changing the goalpost.
How is he zero, Maitre Alex?
When I mean zero, that man, Mr. Kamto, is a professor. He was lecturing law in the university. Before you join a political party, you should read and see what they stand for, what is their manifesto. You don't just join because they appointed you a minister or whatsoever. He has benefited from a rotten system. He has benefited from that system. He knew as a law lecturer, the law is no respecter of ignorance. He cannot say, I later realized that this happened. The buck stops with him. He joined a party that is not fit for a purpose, and he should bear that what is happening, he played a part in it, and he is responsible for it. And my point is, I can never follow somebody like Mr. Kamto because he knew that he was not at least 40 or 45 years old when he joined the CPDM. He was a mature man, and he was above the age of retirement in Cameroon. So I cannot sit and say somebody realized. When he realized maybe that things were not going his way, he came out now and created a political party. They have served their time. You should look when Mr. Aijo was a prime minister, Mr. Bia was the president. Do we need somebody who is almost getting to 70 or above? I have nothing against age. The problem is he doesn't have the probity and integrity when you look at his CV in the political field. So to me, Mr. Kamto should just allow us.
But he's loved by the people.
Mr. Kamto was talking.
He's loved by the people. He's loved by the people.
This is important, what I want to say.
Yes.
Mr. Kamto said he was supporting, 10 state federation. My point is, he is a lecturer in the university, just like my other lecturer who taught me constitutional law, Bipungum Jean-Marie. How can you say 10 states? Who created those 10 states? We used to have 7 provinces. Mr. Bia created 3 more regions for the Francophone area. So why do you want us to have federation based on regions. Region doesn't reflect me. It doesn't reflect my culture. What reflects us? Two countries came together with an institution from English part and the other one from French part. That's how you have to look at federation. You don't look at it based on regions, because as I sit on this platform, I want Fako to be a region. Somebody from Manfe might have a region. Region doesn't define us, it's just geographical location. So they shouldn't fool us with this thing with region. The way they have to deal with Cameroon, I don't like to use that word federalism, because they want to manipulate it and say, oh, 10 states or what, and divide the people of Southwest region and Northwest region. I don't accept it. What I want to see is English institution in Northwest and Southwest and French institution in the other side. Then decentralization, as I said, should focus on all the tribes, because we don't want that thing that will have Northwest region, only Bamenda is developed. Littoral, only Douala is developed. We have to focus decentralization. The power have to go to all the tribes. Then we have a two system. And again, we have to recognize that two countries came together. I'll keep on repeating because people don't know what is a country.
But the other country joined. The other country gave.
That's a country.
Nature, Alex. The other country gave its sovereignty by joining another already independent country. So you cannot be talking about two countries.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop the fact, as I say, we were a country. We were a country. I am not the one. Later, that was one of the questions my constitutional lecturer used to give us in Wakele. Later, c'est quoi? Un territoire, une population, et ordre d'autorité politique. That's a state. You don't need to be independent. They asked us, do we want to join? Independence is different from a country. It's different. Those are two distinct things, but we keep on making mistakes. As I keep on saying, Scotland is a country, it's not independent. England is a country, it's not independent. So, Southern Cameroon was a country. They had a prime minister, a political authority. They had an assembly, a political authority. They had a territory, they had a population. La République too had a country too. And the reason today we are afraid to celebrate our national day because it tells you that two countries came together, they have different days of independence. Whether we join them, it doesn't matter. The fun is, the day we join them under a referendum to join an independent state by joining them. Yes, but that does not stop us from being a country. It is very important. We shouldn't be making mistakes. Most people, especially the ruling CBDM militants, are afraid to come and listen to other people. Is that they know that the truth will come out. We should not be scared of our history. England have got some of the worst history on earth. They still talk about it. They colonized us. Colonization was crime against humanity. Today we sit on this platform, we say, oh, the United Nations did this. The United Nations is an illegal organization. Most people don't know that. Some Caucasians, they sat somewhere, they decided to colonize people. It was illegal. It's a crime against humanity. I spoke with the former Secretary of State under Kofi Annan. He told me, I said, colonialism, apartheid, slavery. How you confirm that is crime against humanity? Who gave the United Nations authority to come and meet the people in Africa and control them? It's illegal. We don't even know that. The point is, at some point, we as Africans, we're going to have this problem, what we have now, including in Nigeria or the past. Foreigners cannot create a country. It's either we, as Cameroonians, we have to accept that two countries come together, or we dissolve this country that was created, Rio dos Cameroons, by foreigners. They never consulted us before they created that country, Cameroon. It's either we come back as Africans, we look at that differences, or we dissolve it, because people come and say reunification. I want to know, who was that president in German Cameroon? Who was that president? I want to know, reunification. Who was that president under French Cameroon or English Cameroon? There's no reunification. Some people came to do their slave trade in Africa. They call an area that River Wuri. Today we are saying reunification. We should stop lying to our people. We never created that country. The only time we became together is when the people of former Southern Cameroon decided to join them through a referendum. And the referendum was voluntary. And because I decided to marry you doesn't mean that I cannot use another referendum and get out. It doesn't mean that.
Okay,
I saw my friend and Professor Ngore, he was talking about the people, 99%, they decided to join La Republique. So if I decided to marry somebody, does it mean that even if there's domestic violence, I will remain there? No, it doesn't work that way. We should be intelligent. These people are scared. This oligarchy, cabal who are in power, they think that when new people they come in, they will displace them. I am confident that if we sit together, we put a fair play, and we decide those people who should govern Cameroon. You cannot have one party ruling Cameroon since independence. It's one party. The CPDM was rebranded. That's CNU. They just changed the name. If Mr. Elvis changed his name today, he's still the same person. And I'm telling you today, after Mr. Bia, they plan to change the name again for the party. So that's how they keep on changing and fooling us.
Okay.
We are wiser.
Okay.
We are more intelligent. We are more enlightened. We have social media today. In those days, you cannot compare. When President Ahijo was a president, you cannot compare Ahijo's experience with mine or Mr. Bia when they were president. Today, we are dealing with different people, and these people are scared that if they sit on the table, they talk with Cameroonians, they will lose their position. That is why we are in this problem today.
Okay, I will be coming back to you, Maitre Alex, to talk about the resignation of the Secretary General of FECAFOOT. Before then, Elvis, you read some of the headlines, especially this one that has to do with the outing of Professor Maurice Kamto, talking about decentralization being too little and coming too late to resolve the problem in the Northwest and Southwest.
Well, I read the headline, and like it says, decentralization really is, to me, is not the solution to this problem, because when we talk about decentralization, or what they will call advanced decentralization, the question I would really ask is, why is the regime so afraid of a federation? Why are they so afraid of returning back to what the country was initially accepted to be?
I just said it was costly.
You know,
it was costly running Cameroon as a federated state. I just said it was too costly. That's the reason why he abandoned it.
When you say to run Cameroon as a federated state was too costly, Mr. Lasha, how many governors do we have?
I'm not the one saying it. I'm quoting the former president.
The regional councils with regional heads and whosoever, all these different offices that they have created, do they run them for free? Don't we know the amounts of billions that are voted for each of these offices to operate? Why was it, or why is it only costly to run a federated state? Why are the other countries of the world that are federations not complaining about the cost? The problem here is that Mr. Bia and his government, they want a system where all power is concentrated in their hands in Yaoundé, where all finances are determined by them in Yaoundé, so that at the end of the day, they actually transform what is supposed to be a national cake for everyone for a private something. It becomes their private affair, and they alone decide for exactly how it is being managed. And of course, we know it is not managed to the betterment of every other person, but to their own best interest. And that is why some of us, like the PAP party, we insist that the nation will have to go back to a federation. A federation, like I always say, where the people will decipher the nature of the federation that they want. Let them keep fooling themselves about what they call decentralization or whatever thing. Since 1982 to today, where are we with the decentralization? Or should I say since 1996 with the constitution in place? Where are we with it? It is only on paper. And that is why things are the way they are. When Kamto says it cannot work, the truth is that it cannot work. Let there be a forum where Cameroonians will sit down and talk, where all political views and opinions will be accepted in this country. And if you think that only your unitary or your decentralized system can work, you should convince me around the table why I should accept the system and not think that you will use force and brutality. We have seen people in this country go to jail just because they express their views as federalists. Today we have some who have picked up arms because you will not want to let them express their political views. So Mr. Bia should understand that he and his decentralization are far-fetched as far as Cameroonians are concerned. And of course, you understand, Mr. Lasha, the reason why they want to capitalize on brutality, because they think that they will only achieve what they want through the use of force. But be careful. No government has ever won a war against its people, and Cameroon will not be an exception. There will be need, and there is need, that we sit down as a people and we talk. The only thing I always regret is the fact that no matter how many years this thing takes, we shall still sit around the table. So the question I always ask is, why not just go to the table, therefore, sit and discuss as a people and get better solutions? Why go about killing and destroying property, knowing fully whether we shall sit around the table? That's my question.
Okay, Elvis, I'll be coming back to you. Metro Alex, we are gradually drawing the curtains for today, but before then, there's bad news coming from Fecafoot, where the Secretary General has resigned, citing some management or managerial issues, as we are told. What is your take? Is it a blow to Eto's administration?
I haven't seen detail of that, but in the country, in UK where I live, it is normal for people to resign. Rather than people sitting somewhere and say, we thank the head of state, whether things goes bad, you keep on staying there. So to me, it's a positive thing. Mr. Eto have got his program. I don't know, he has got his manifesto how to rule the Fecafoot. In case thing doesn't work out, you don't like it, it's a good sign to move away. It's a good sign to resign rather than just being there for the money. It's positive to me. Everybody cannot pretend to agree on everything. Mr. Eto have got a mandate. I'm sure the Secretary General will be getting ready to challenge Mr. Eto. That's democracy to me in a small institution. And I presume I want to start seeing when they lie or the president should lie about constructing deep sea port in Victoria, he did not do it. He should resign. When you lie about Ring Road for 30 years, you haven't done anything, you should resign. Because I use the word here, it's a lie, because I was present in Malcolm Bameda when Mr. Bia made that statement, and after 30 years, nothing has been done. So we want to see people resigning. That's part of democracy.
When you say a lie, what do you qualify a lie? Somebody saying something
a
at
lie
the end.
is making a false statement. You have English dictionary. If you don't know, I can open it and read it to you.
No.
Mr. Bia said I was going to construct.
Metro, what about challenges? If things don't work out.
I was going to construct a ring road. I will personally supervise it. He hasn't done it. What we have is what? Creepy. And whether it's a seaport or gypsy.
No,
port,
but one has been given. There's one in Limbe.
This policy that you have to develop part of the country, a bridge in Douala, a deep seaport or a Creepy. That is the government dividing the country.
No, one is already in Limbe. There's one in the southwest, Limbe deep sea port under.
There's no deep sea port there. Mr. Bia promised to come. I was present in Mango, Bamenda. 30 years ago, I was there. Mr. Bia lied. I'm not making it up. I know people are afraid to say people lie. Boris Johnson, our prime minister, he's a liar. Everybody says that. So the fact that I'm not making it is a statement. If somebody wants to challenge you when I come next time to your program, a ruling CPDM, they should come and challenge me that I made an error. Then I will apologize that, oh, sorry, Mr. Bia did not lie about the gypsy port. Mr. Bia did not lie about the ring road. So Mr. Bia is a liar. It's a fact. And if I'm lying, next time I come on your program, I will apologize to Mr. Bia.
Thank you, Metro Alex Live, for taking our time to be part of this edition of the program. Thank you to Elvis Mbane. You are the Communications Secretary to the Popular Action Party. It was a pleasure having you guys on today's edition of the program. Happy National Day, Unity Day, for those who believe in the day. And hopefully we'll be with you tomorrow for yet another edition of What the Papers Must Have Said. The program was produced by Christine Tebong. We were Gwladys Bomotonguina and myself, Lasha Kingsley. Bye-bye.
My Media Prime TV, the African Eye.